call the case.
Good morning, Your Honors. This is case number IT 0040/1. The prosecutor of the tribunal versus Biljana Plavšić.
We'll hear the appearances.
Yes, Your Honor. Myself, Carla Del Ponte, and my colleague Brenda Hollis are here for the prosecution, and Mrs. Javier is also present. Thank you, Your Honor.
Good morning, Your Honors. My name is Krsten Simic, and today I represent Mrs. Biljana Plavšić.
Thank you. This is the initial appearance of the accused in this case, to be conducted in accordance with Rule 62 of the Rules of Procedure and Evidence. The first matter we have to deal with concerns the indictment and the accused's pleas to it. The accused has the right to have the indictment read out before she pleads to it, but this is a right which she may waive. Mr. Simic, does your client waive the right to have the indictment read out, or does she want it read out?
Justice.
Your Honor, Mrs. Plavšić has received the indictment, studied it, she understands it, and there is no need for it to be read out. Therefore, we waive that right.
The next stage is the accused's pleas to the indictment. The rules provide that the accused must be informed that within 30 days of today, she will be called on to enter a plea on each of the counts in the indictment. But should the accused so request, she may enter her pleas today. Mr. Simic, two questions for you. First of all, does the accused understand the indictment and the matters to which she has to plead? I understand from your earlier answer that she does.
Your Honor, Professor Biljana Plavšić, yesterday, on the 10th of January 2001, received the indictment which charges her with the crimes described therein. She has read the indictment, understood it. Together, we have studied it, and Mrs. Plavšić has been familiarized with the rules of procedure and the statute of the tribunal, and she is ready today to enter a plea on the counts of the indictment.
Mrs. Plavšić, will you stand, please? Will you confine your answers to guilty or not guilty to each of the counts as I put them to you? Counts 1 to 6 of the indictment allege offences against Bosnian Muslims and Bosnian Croats committed between July 1991 and December 1992. Count one. In count one of the indictment, you are charged with genocide, punishable under Articles 4.3, 7.1, and 7.3 of the Statute of the International Tribunal. How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Good morning, Your Honors. I received the indictment yesterday. I have understood it fully, and I plead not guilty on all counts of that indictment.
Put the counts to you. Count 2, complicity in genocide, punishable under Articles 4, 7.1 and 7.3 of the statute. How do you plead?
Not guilty.
Count 3, extermination, a crime against humanity, punishable under Articles 5b, 7.1 and 7.3 of the statute. How do you plead?
Not guilty.
Count 4, murder, a crime against humanity, punishable under Articles 5, 7.1 and 7.3 of the statute. How do you plead?
Not guilty.
Count 5, murder, a violation of the laws or customs of war as recognized by Common Article 3.1 of the Geneva Conventions of 1949, punishable under Articles 3, 7.1 and 7.3 of the statute. How do you plead?
Not guilty.
Count 6, willful killing, a grave breach of the Geneva Conventions of 1949, punishable under Articles 2a, 7.1 and 7.3 of the statute. How do you plead?
Not guilty.
Count 7 charges you with persecution during the same period. The charge is one of persecution on political, racial, and religious grounds, a crime against humanity, punishable under Articles 5, 7.1, and 7.3 of the statute. How do you plead?
Not guilty.
Counts 8 and 9 charges you with deportation and inhumane acts during the same period. Count 8 charges deportation, a crime against humanity, punishable under Articles 5, 7.1 and 7.3 of the statute. How do you plead?
Not guilty.
Count 9 charges you with inhumane acts, forced transfer, a crime against humanity, punishable under Article 5I, 7.1 and 7.3 of the statute. How do you plead?
Not guilty.
Very well, if you'd like to take a seat.
Thank you.
Madam Prosecutor, going on to the next stage of the proceedings, as you know, the prosecution are required within 30 days of today to provide the defense with copies of the supporting material for the confirmation of this indictment in a language which the accused understands. May I take it that this matter is in hand?
Oui, Monsieur Président.
Yes, Mr. President. I can inform you, and the defense attorney can confirm, that he has already received all the supporting material with the indictment. To be quite precise, a video is lacking, which we will tender in the next few days. Therefore, all the documents except for this video. I also wish to underline that we have provided the documents in 2 languages, which means including the language of the accused, that is the Serbian language.
It seems that disclosure is taking place, has substantially been completed. When it is, let me remind you that all preliminary motions must be brought within 30 days of prosecution disclosure.
Your Honor, I can confirm what the prosecutor has just said, that yesterday the Office of the Prosecutor disclosed to the defense a larger number of documents. Understandably, however, we have not been able to review those documents and sign a receipt as to all the documents that we have received. We do believe that the disclosure has been accomplished, and as soon as we receive the video cassette, we understand that the time begins to run as envisaged by the statute and the rules of procedure.
Mr. Simic, are there any other matters which you want to raise at this hearing?
Your Honor, I don't know whether this is the right place or time, but I would like to highlight a problem which we consider to be a very serious one, and it is something that we have already discussed with the Office of the Prosecutor. That is the question of detention. We are not raising the issue of release from detention because we understand the rules in that regard. However, we believe that the conditions in the detention unit, which has been designed as a detention unit for men, is unacceptable because it is inappropriate for the detention of a woman, in this case Mrs. Plavšić. In all prisons in the world, there are separate facilities for men and women. Should an area be appropriately adjusted for Mrs. Plavšić, she would still be living in a male environment. And in fact, she would be in absolute isolation. And we all know what that would mean for the accused, because solitary detention is punishment, and this is something that has not been envisaged in this particular case, so we consider this to be a very serious problem.
Mr. Simic, the matters about detention and the conditions of detention are not matters for the trial chamber to determine. They are matters for the President. So if you have any applications in respect of the conditions of detention, you should make them promptly to the President.
Your Honor, we will do that. It was not our intention to make any requests of the Chamber. We just felt it our duty to inform the Chamber, but we will act in accordance with the rules.
Madam Prosecutor, is there anything you wish to raise at this stage?
Yes, Mr. President, very briefly. Simply in response to what has just been said by the defense, I should like to underline that we, as the prosecution, are fully aware of this problem, and we will try to find a solution which will be in conformity with the conditions of detention. But as you know, this is not the place to discuss this. I just wish to inform the trial chamber that in a few days' time, we will be submitting a motion for joinder of the indictment of Mrs. Plavšić with the indictment of the accused, Plavšić. This is just by way of information for the trial chamber. And I think that is all we have to raise at this moment. Thank you, Mr. President.
Madame le procureur.
Madam Prosecutor, you spoke of joinder. Does that mean that there will be a single indictment for the both accused? Your Honor, we have requested a joinder, and we are ready to issue a single indictment without any judgment, of course, because the facts are virtually the same. So if the chamber requires us to produce a single indictment, we will do so. I think that would be preferable to issue a single indictment. It would be simpler and more practical for us in terms of procedure. Yes, Your Honor, we will do that.
Very well. If there are no further matters to be raised, this case will be adjourned until the first status conference. That must take place before the 11th of May. In due course, we will consider the application for joining this indictment with the indictment in the case of Plavšić. But meanwhile, the case will be adjourned until a date is fixed by the trial chamber or by the pre-trial judge before the 11th of May. The accused, meanwhile, must remain in the detention unit. That concludes this hearing.
All rise for your